Oh, hey guys, it's Viejo here, and we are in the second week of May already here in 2024. It's almost the end of the second week of May, in fact. And we got kind of a typical May day here on the central coast of California. We got morning fog and it burns off, and then at some point late in the afternoon it starts sneaking back in again from the coastline, only about 6-7 miles as the crow flies from me. So we start getting this marine layer as the land over the Central Valley of California, which is about 100 miles that way, starts to heat up. That air goes up because it's warm, pulls the fog right in on top of us. It's all right. We don't ever get real hot in the summer because of that. Hey, this is chapter 8 of the 230 grain round nose 45 ACP shootout that we're doing. And the bullet that we've got today is the SAECO number 456. Here's our bullet, the SAECO number 456, weighing 223 grains as cast and coated. They look kind of blue in the light, but they're actually squirrel gray. Here's our ammo, the SAECO number 456, weighing 223 grains, loaded up over some Winchester 231 powder, Winchester large pistol primers, Winchester range brass, and all loaded with Lee gear on the 4-hole classic turret press. And we've done, we did a 457 SAECO early on. That was one of the first couple that we did. So this is a little bit different. The 457 was about a 230 grain. This one is closer to 225. We'll take a look at the numbers down here in a minute. But if you recall, what we're doing is looking at that Lee data section for 45 ACP 230 grain cast bullets, and understanding that we don't really know what bullet that data was collected for unless you do some real sleuth work. Sometimes you can figure out what bullet that was, but for a lot of us, you just don't know. So is it valid to just select a charge for a particular powder within the range from low to high that Lee gives us? And so that's what I did. You know, I went in and I picked out a charge of 231 that I was fairly certain would at least function in our test firearm, which is the Kimber Stainless 2 1911 for 45 ACP. Shot them all out of that same firearm, shot 2 magazines out of each bullet. They were all loaded on the same press, okay, the same exact charge for each one. There were differences though in the seating depth. Okay, we had to arrive at a cartridge overall length that would work in the test firearm, and that's a little bit different for each bullet. You can't load them all exactly the same. If you got a longer bullet, low jive of the bullet might contact the lens too soon and it may not chamber. Okay, so we got to pay attention to that. And I think most of you kind of got that part of this figured out as we go along and look down the data page, which we'll do here in a second. And we find that every one of them had a little bit different overall length. In some cases, the overall length was significantly different. But we picked this powder charge hoping that we were going to be able to see some consistency in muzzle velocity with that charge. And you know, I've shot all of these bullets. There's 12 of them. We are going to shoot some copper, and actually there's one more. There's going to be a 13th one. I did acquire another bullet mold, an old Kramer mold, and I'm going to add that one in too, just for grins at the end of this, and we'll see how that old timer does, how it stacks up. But anyway, let's get in here and take a look at the numbers for this particular bullet, and then we'll go look and see how she shot. Okay, as we come down the line there, okay, we can see that our overall length for each of these has been a little bit different. Okay, bullets are all slightly different lengths. Ogives are different, etc. Anyway, all of that stuff kind of dictates what we're going to do for a seating depth. So here we are for the SAECO 456 As you saw, they're coated in Eastwood Squirrel Gray. The bullet weighed 223 grains, overall length of .660. It's sort of right in the ballpark with the rest of those. And our overall length was 1.250. Okay, again, kind of looking up the line there. That lead bullet's the shortest and had the shortest overall length, but this one, okay, 1.250, we're right there. Our factory bullets with a 230 grain, hardball ammo tends to run right around 1.26. The velocity with the charge that we use, 837, right in the ballpark of where we want it to be. And we had a pretty decent standard deviation there of 6.3 over the 14 rounds that we shot. So that was decent. Okay, there are the numbers for that bullet, and it actually was, a pretty decent charge for that particular bullet. It was right where we were kind of hoping it would be, and they didn't all fall into that category, but most of them are right in there. We were looking for that 800 to 850 feet per second mark, and just based on my own experience, that's kind of how I came up with the charge that I did of Winchester 231 powder. And this one did pretty well. Let's go take a look at the range footage. Again, I shot 14 rounds, 2 magfuls on paper, and I'll apologize. For some reason, the target camera was a little bit out of focus, but you'll be able to see at the end when we come up tight against the camera or against the target. You can see where the rounds went. I had 3 that were kind of off. I'm not sure what was going well. This is what was going on. It's just, as a shooter, it wasn't the round and it wasn't the firearm, but I put kind of 3 out of the 14 off in right field there somewhere. Anyway, the rest of them were sort of, all pretty much in there. So let's go look at that.
First.
And it stays back on you because you have no more bullets. Oh. I know, I saw you another time looking at it.
Yeah. Second bag?
Yeah, but I thought you said you'd been here before. Oh. And it comes back like that. It's out.
Okay, here's our SAECO 14 rounds. We've got kind of 3 of them. I'll have to go back and look at the video and see if that was the first shots. Okay, there you go. There's how the shooting went. Not too bad, actually. I was fairly happy with what that one did. In fact, the load that we're using with all of these is pretty close, though not exactly the same as what I've used with that bullet in the past. But it's really, really close, and because it does well at that velocity. Anyway, I think you're starting to see some patterning here. And maybe getting some ideas about what you might do in the same situation. Hey, can I pick just any old arbitrary charge in that range? Will they function? Will they not function? And we're gonna kind of cook this all down when we get to the end of this, but I think you're starting to see, yeah, there's maybe some validity and in that data set from Lee, provided you work your rounds up properly. But anyway, we'll save that final discussion for later. Okay, so that was the last of the 8 cast bullets, and as I mentioned, I do have one more that I'm going to add, but not till the end. And where we're going to go next, though, is with the copper bullets. We've got a couple of jacketeds and a couple of plateds. And some of you may already be able to kind of guess what's going to happen with these velocities and standard deviations and such when we start shooting copper with the same powder charge as we did with the cast bullets. If you're a caster, you probably already know what's going to happen. What do you guys think? Are we going to see higher average velocities or lower average velocities. Standard deviation is going to go up, go down, going to hold about the same. What do you guys that are casters see when you compare a jacketed bullet to a cast bullet of the same size, same charge? Anyway, we'll find out next week. From the Viejo bench, though, for now, that's all she wrote.